Welcome to a series called The End of Times. We're going through the book of Revelation verse by verse to see what it is we can expect to happen and what it is we should be doing in the end times. And where we are in this book is we've spent many episodes so far in Revelation 17 talking about the beast and the harlot. And the last episode, I'm just going to encourage you to go back. We kind of even did a recap the last episode. But I'm going to encourage you to go back, watch those episodes if you haven't watched them yet, because you just, this is probably, I don't know, maybe the 12th to 15th episode we've done just on chapter 17, and we barely made it to verse 10. So I'm going to encourage you to go back and watch those other episodes. But what we're talking about is we pointed out the last episode that the seven heads are seven satanic kingdoms. There are seven satanic kings. And what I mean by satanic is it is clearly spelled out in Revelation 12 that it is Satan who is rising these kings. They are satanic. They are possessed by Satan, and the kingdom is a satanic kingdom. And he has given them power, and he has given them authority so he can do what he wants on this earth. So we're just going to pick it up right there where we left off, Revelation 17, verse 7. But the angel said to me, "Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundations of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. And the beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and is going to perdition." So we're going to kind of talk about that for a bit. So we'll come back to the 7 mountains. I'm just going to just push those. I know you said a lot of people want to jump on those 7 mountains, but let's talk about the 7 kings first, because that's where we left off last time. What they're saying here is that when he says that the beast was, that means that word is exists. When the beast exists, and he does not exist, and yet he is coming, is what that says. And what they're talking about is these kingdoms have risen and fallen. They have risen and fallen. And it says that he goes to perdition. He's going to perdition. And hold that thought, because that is very significant to what we're talking about today. So let's talk about these 7 kings, which apparently are 8 as well. 5 have fallen. 5 kings have fallen. 5 of them. So, these 5 kingdoms have risen and fallen. And historically, there's a lot of speculation on who those 5 kings are, and we're going to give more detail on that in the near future. We're going to talk about the 7th and the 8th this episode. 5 have fallen. 1 is, and that one also at this point is fallen. So really 6 at this point have fallen. And 1 is coming. There's still 1 coming, and I believe it's already rising. I think the last one, the 7th, is. I think it's here already. It says in 11, "And the beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and is going to perdition." What I believe this is saying, because a lot of people don't understand that when Jesus Christ returns, that's not the end of evil empires on the earth. And a lot of people don't understand that. There's a great confusion of this. It is not. When Jesus Christ returns, that puts an end to evil kingdoms on the earth. Then he reigns for 1,000 years, and then there is another kingdom, an 8th, that will arise. And then Satan will be destroyed. So there's this 1,000 years of perdition. Essentially, he's going to be, now there were 2 things that he said he was going to do to Satan. Put him in the bottomless pit, perdition. Essentially, jail time. You go to jail for 1,000 years. But that is not the end of Satan, and there is an eighth. And they're saying, okay, so this beast, these seven heads, there's seven. Satan controlled the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one. The sixth one is what the Bible tells us, and he will control the seventh. And then he'll control the eighth, is what they're saying. There is an eighth. So what are you talking about, this eighth empire that's coming up? Because a lot of people think, well, boy, this Antichrist, he must be pretty bad to the bone, but wait till you see the eighth. And, we're just jumping ahead momentarily. So again, we're just going to jump, I just want to point at the eighth. We'll get into a lot of detail on what's going on there when we get to those chapters. So we're just going to jump ahead to Revelation 20, and starting verse 7. Now when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison, and will go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Then evil does not exist anymore. And this is a very important piece, because a lot of people they speculate. There's a lot of speculation going on with who these seven kings are and what does this eighth kingdom mean. And a lot of times when you could read a lot about the Gog-Magog wars from Isaiah and Ezekiel, and what you'll see there is there's a lot of speculation that those are, people can't quite place in time. Well, when's that happen? Well, clearly spells it out. It's after the 1,000 years. It's the eighth. It's the eighth beast. It's the eighth head of the beast, which we don't see here because we're talking about the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's just noted in 17 that, oh, by the way, when you see the eighth, there's also that, because I intend on being there in 1,000 years. Because again, if you were alive when Christ returned, there's no death till the 1,000-year reign's over. So I plan on seeing the seventh and the eighth in that camp of the saints and watching the fire come down. I plan on being there as well. I hope to see you there. So love to hear everybody's thoughts on this. We will get into who those seven kings are next time, and we'll talk about the seven mountains specifically. I don't know if they're necessarily what you think they are, and I kind of think they probably are what you think they are, a little bit of both. So we'll get into that next time. So hope this video has helped. And again, just kind of a recap real quick. I'm just going to go through quickly what we read in 17 and just kind of remind me. The beast that you saw exists, and he doesn't exist, and he will then ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is coming. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sits. There are also seven kings. 5 have fallen. One is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. And the beast that was and is not is himself also the eighth, and is of the seven, and is going to perdition. So I hope this video helps. Really a lot of insight into this. When we kind of, once we're done talking about the seven heads, we'll pull together the harlot and the 10 horns and the seven heads all together as one and show what is this beast as a whole, once we kind of understand the intricate little details. So I hope these are helping. Stick with us. Any questions, comments, put them below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.